How many things when you were a kid or when you were younger, teenage, maybe even young adult, that just made perfect sense, that as you got a little bit older and got a little bit more exposed to information, just ended up making absolutely no sense at all? That's what this clip is about, or at least that's what it sparked inside of me as Joe was talking about some things. This is episode 1928 with Jimmy Corsetti, and I love that look on his face. That's why I froze it there, because that's the look that you're going to have throughout this whole episode when you listen to it. You're going to be like, I don't know. A lot of it's going to make sense and a lot of it's going to be wild, but it's an absolutely amazing episode. We're sitting at about 1 hour, 56 minutes, 34 seconds. I'm Coach Colin, coolest high performance coach in the world. And if you want the absolute best insights to the podcasts and videos you love, hit that subscribe button. Let's go.
Listen, so Jamie, put that back up, please. A recent study published on Ancient Origins website claims that the ancient Egyptians benefited from the sound in the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza and relied on the discovery of a dead end in the rock inside the pyramid room as a tube of acoustic resonance that generates ultrasonic waves at a base frequency within 5 hertz. This raises the questions of the importance of ultrasound for the ancients, and can we find the use of sound waves between ancient cultures elsewhere in the world?
Yeah, all the boxes too. The Serapeum is an incredible site that houses like 25 of the biggest stone boxes you'll ever see. It's this one spot, and they're the biggest ones. They're like, some of them are up to like 70 tons with their lids 30 tons. And I've been there with some people that have been measuring like the frequency resonance range inside there. So at what range are you generating standing waves? And they all seem to have a very similar resonance tone to them. So it's an interesting experiment. Like you can stand inside a water tank or a concrete room and find a resonance. But it's interesting to go and actually analyze those aspects of these ancient structures and to speculate maybe has this got anything to do with what they were made for? Because these are giant precision-made boxes made from syenite and granite that are perfectly flat and square, and they're just massively solid. They went to tremendous effort to remove imperfections from the stone, no cracks, almost like they didn't want the damn things to shake apart or vibrate.
Well, it's just the sheer scale of them. Like it flies in the face of logic. Like the actual archaeologists that want to lock this down and try to come up with some sort of a conventional reason and, some sort of an explanation that we can all get behind. Oh, they used pulleys and pushed them on logs. Like, shut the fuck up. Yeah. Just shut the fuck up. What you're saying doesn't even make any goddamn sense. It's way more likely that there was incredibly sophisticated technology that existed, and it's way more likely, in face of the evidence of the Younger Dryas impact theory, that shit was wiped out. And that we're talking about a really advanced civilization that lived a long time ago that's more advanced than we are today, but moved in a different direction. Like we moved in the direction of combustion engines and electronics, and they moved in some other direction, but achieved maybe many thousands of years more sophistication in that direction than we have with our internal combustion engines and electricity and all the shit that we use.
And it's important for people to understand that these primitive methods that are suggested and pushed very hard by the, quote, mainstream, they don't test any of these. Like, show me them moving, 1,000-ton stone on logs. Let's see that. They've never cut one single box, like you said, in half, or even completed one single average size box, or any box. And when I say box, I'm talking about a stone block with the primitive methods.
Well, you have shown that they've moved that 1,000-ton stone.
Right. The Thunderstone, yeah. But there's no, again, they weren't using railway tracks and ball bearings.
And a ball bearings.
Sophisticated, but also the way it's constructed, it's just a rock. It's not like this amazing obelisk that's carved out of a mountain 1,000 miles away. There's nothing like that.
Right. There's also no evidence for it in dynastic Egypt. That's the other thing. They can't. The earliest parts of, this crazy thing about it is in the Old Kingdom, the mainstream archaeologists, there's some disagreement on this, but in general, they don't grant them the ability to even quarry granite. They say that in the Old Kingdom, they couldn't quarry granite. They made all of their granite artifacts from surface granite. It's the craziest thing. No wheel, no use of the wheel. Never in the Egyptian civilization did they grant them the use of the pulley. It was literally human horsepower, ropes, levers, and wooden sleds. That's it. The Romans came along and the Greeks, and they started using pulleys and force multipliers and stuff like that, but there's no evidence for that in the dynastic Egyptian civilization.
Have you ever had a conversation with all the information that you have at your disposal, like right off the top of your head? Have you ever had a conversation with a conventional archaeologist that wants to argue this with you?
On email a couple times, but not in life.
What do they say on email?
It's a lot of it is.
I want to keep my job. That's what they say.
I think there's a bit of that.
If you read my textbook, it has all the answers.
Shit. I shouldn't be an expert, but fuck you.
Yeah.
I bought a BMW, you piece of shit. You're trying to take it from me.
I'm tenured.
Yeah,
I'm
tenured.
They say, like, we know how they did it because they talk about it. So, for example, with the giant statues, right, there's a scene on a wall. It's called the Djibouti Hotep image. And it shows the Egyptians, it's all, you see these dudes in profile. It's an Egyptian drawing. Definitely Dynastics made the drawing. And there's 156 dudes when you count them all up, and they're pulling a statue that's tied to a wooden sled. Now, we know this statue, there's parts of it still exist. First, it's alabaster. It's not granite. Second, it weighs about 56 tons. That's fine. And you're dragging it on a wooden sled. You can't use that to explain how you move a 1,000-ton statue. It's just, it's not like a sliding scale of difficulty. It's a, there's a curve to it. Like you can move. I do grant them the ability to use primitive methods to move stuff up to like 100, 150 tons. But once you start getting to 400, 600, 1,000 tons, material failure, wood's not an issue. That literally sleds would just be crushed or driven into the ground. There's an absolute scale of difficulty that gets applied to these massive objects, and I think
what are they using?
That's that stuff right there. What Jimmy said, what Joe said, what Ben just said. That, like, how many times throughout your life, especially in regards to like Egypt, have you watched little cartoons and movies and you see them just pulling things and the log system where the logs are rolling, and how many times have we seen that? And it's almost like we're conditioned to just believe that's how it went. But now that we have these people who are analyzing like how much these things actually weighed, and like you tell me 100 tons, I don't think that there's any wood any logs that could handle that. Even if you had like a dozen of them, wouldn't the wood just get desecrated? Wouldn't you like push it a little bit and all the wood would just crumble and break? And you never really think about any of this stuff. Again, it's like there's like a conditioning. It's like you see it, you see it in cartoons, movies, documentaries with these mainstream guys at the helm, and you're just like, yeah, this is just how it works, and I don't have any way of looking into it myself at all. We really don't. Like, these guys talking about this stuff is the only real link we have into looking into even how much the stones weigh. I didn't know 1,000-pound stone versus 50 or 1,000-ton stone versus a 50. Like, I had no idea. I have no idea. But now that I know, it's like it's not adding up at all. And it really makes me think of like how many things in our life have we been taught to believe that are just not true. And the only reason we don't realize they're not true is because we don't look into them. Like, we don't look like into the details of them. Like, how many things are there? Like, I don't have any that I can name. Like, I do know that, I used to think that, you are the way you are as a person. I used to think that like 15 years ago. And then I improved myself and I changed, and I quit smoking cigarettes, and I quit doing drugs, and I quit drinking alcohol, and I changed. I noticed that I changed so much. And then when somebody saw me who hadn't seen me in a decade or so, they'd be like, wow, you're like a completely different person. Like, so I learned that. But like, what else in life is there? What in your life have you been taught to believe that you don't question the details of? You don't look into the details of for yourself, and you just blindly believe it. Like, we're all guilty of it. And it just makes me think, like, how many things are there? Who's shoveling the snow like that? There's no snow. What are they doing? But how many things are there? How many things have we just been taught to believe? And they're not true. And they're not real. And if we did look into them, if we did pick them apart a little bit, we would find out that they're things that we can move past. They're things that we can overcome. How many people think that they just have to work a job and that they can't start a business because they're too old? How many people are there like that? Are you like that? How many people think it's impossible to be a millionaire without screwing somebody over? Without being evil? Without joining the Illuminati? How many people are like that? I don't know, man. It just makes me wonder. Like, what is possible for a person if they're willing to look into their own beliefs, dissect them, reconstruct them, and make them new? What's possible? I don't know. It makes me think, though. This is an absolute great episode. It's 1928, Jimmy Corsetti. It'll make you think. It'll definitely make you think. It'll make you think about lost civilizations. It'll make you think about who are the ancient Egyptians really. It'll make you think. Definitely. All right, I'm out.